Speakers, and we're running late. Please hold your questions to the end of the session. Without further ado, I'd like to give the floor over to Ana Velasco from the Spanish National Geographic Information Service, and Juan Lucas Dominguez will be presenting module on gvSIG 2.0 for the addition, validation, and import of database data. Good morning. Juan Lucas and I will be giving this presentation. It has been performed with the CNIG-ING, and thanks to the company ProDevelop. I will talk a little bit about addition, validation, and import of CartoCiudad, a city cartography. Most of might know a little bit about this CNID project. It's a database of the road infrastructure in Spain. It's actually a map with roads, and we have blocks, toponyms, zip codes, census, and some administrative data. One of its main features is that data are submitted by government agencies. I'll tell you a little bit more about this in a minute. It is all available online and through web standard services. So we have for visualization, we have WMS, WMSC, and WMTS for location and feature download. We have WFS for path calculations and influence regions. These have been performed under WPS. This is all available at CartoCiudad.es, and the download center website is right there, Centro de Descargas, etc., etc. I would like to give you some more insight to the project. I would like to highlight that it is a collaborative one. Data are submitted by numerous government agencies, including the Direction General of Cadastre, which gives us road axes and street axes. It submits toponym information. Then we have the National Institute of Statistics, which gives us valuable information. We also have the National Telephone and Post Agency that submits zip codes and other information of the sort. And then we have the IGN Director General. Apart from the federal level, the national level, we have been collaborating with the regions in Spain. You know, Spain is divided by regions, so we've been working with the region of Valencia, the Basque Country, Navarra, and we've been working lately with La Rioja, the Balearic Islands, Andalusia, and the region of Murcia. These regions have submitted the data like road infrastructure, streets, and Juan Lucas will tell us a little bit more about the tools that use these this data, and you can always log on to CartoCiudad.es for more info. As I mentioned earlier, apart from government agencies, we and the regions, we are also working with companies, and we are being able to work with some outsourced software. We've used proprietary software, but we decided that we wanted to go beyond this, and when our data obtention model became stable and we were able to really control the flow, we decided to develop our own tool. This would also allow us not only to have more control, but to manage data traffic better. And it had to be open source. That's something we definitely wanted. And we wanted other agencies to be able to benefit from this. I forgot to mention that we thought the best idea was to have a module on gvSIG and have the company ProDevelop help us.
Now let's have a look at the different requisites that we had at the beginning as far as the editing tools. Well, these tools had to have access to Oracle or PostgreSQL. So right now our data are in Oracle format, but we wanted to migrate to free software. We have made some loading tests with SQL, and we have found, well, some obstacle when processing the data, when calculating the path. This is something that we found very easy in the Oracle, but once we have solved that obstacle, where we will be able to use SQL, we want to make sure that the tool is working in both environments so that we can validate it with time. It's also very important to work with editing session in order to be able to modify the changes if they are not being validated. Another important component is to maintain the relationship between, well, the different features, between, well, all these data that we are collecting, to work with different fields and list of values from CartoCiudad. And we also wanted to be able to select the data per working areas. It was very difficult to import all the data from the different catalog from Spain. So we have decided to do it per province, per region, or per any other category. So we need the following function. We want to create, to delete, to move the entities and the features. We want also to project portals on the parcels, or PKs on the different sections, because the data that we obtain from the original sources are not following that format, and we need to do that editing in order to be able to proceed. So it should be associated to all the different sections. So this is why we needed to be able to associate each portal to each section. We also need to divide the sections in different parts, and we should also be able to edit the zoning very easily. Well, you know that the profiles that have been edited, well, should also be transferred in our database. So if the zip codes, those that we are using from the information sent by the post office, well, we need to edit them very easily to make sure that they are being updated, and we want to avoid, well, any gap or any overlapping from the editing system. So these are the requisites. Now for the quality control, where we wanted to make sure that it could have access to the different system, Oracle and SQL, that we could also use the shape file, because this is the system that we are using with companies and with the region. The cities is the work unit that we have decided to use. Well, we'll show you a bit in the next slide what I mean. We have three different schemes. We have the updating scheme. It means that we know exactly where we are storing the data imported from the files of the regions of Spain. We have then the database from CartoCiudad, and we have also the quality scheme with the with both data coming from both database, and it's being filtered and updated continuously. We also add the historic database, and this is a validation done in three phases. We have the basic control to admit those data that are being imported. In the second phase, we're comparing the new information with the original, not to have any overlapping or to repeat elements that already exist. And finally, when we have a consolidated database, we control the topology and the semantic aspect of those data. And now, well, my colleague will explain the implementation of that tool. Good morning. I'm coming from Pro Develop 2. I'm part of the team that has implemented that tool for CartoCiudad. I'm Juan Lucas Dominguez, and Ignacio Bodin and Carlos Sanchez and Jorge Sanz have also participated to the development of that tool. So I would like to explain in detail and give you the technical information about our project. The main tool that we have developed, it's a tool that would project the portals on a slot. It's a very interesting because CartoCiudad is in the ETRS 89, and those the first thing that we have to do is to project the geometry to a program system, and then we do the octagonal projection. We use as a coordinate 42, 58. Another characteristic that we have implemented is that we have divided the different sections when we are dividing other elements. That is to say that we are trying to find the points where the sections are divided by other elements, so the user can jump from one case to another, knows exactly where, and he can decide what to do. If we will do a simple cut, well, what you see there in red, this is a simple cut or a double cut at a distance from the center. This is what you see in red too, the little square in red. If you have a double cut, meaning that we have the origin section and the final section, we have to define what is the topologic relationship, if it's a bridge, if it's an underground tunnel or whatever. So as Anna told you, another important point is the relationship maintenance. We mean that the portals have access to the selected section, and with a series of tools where you can search, you can find the portals that are not associated to any section, or given the kilometers that we have selected and given the section that has been selected, try to find a relationship between the two. Another point are the triggers. When we edit, when we update, for example, we update the CartoAdmin scheme and we save it in the other historical scheme. When we delete an element, we move the element to the historic scheme to make sure that even if we delete it, it is stored somewhere. So after analyzing one of those stretches, we do a series of actions. The first one is validation. This is something that the CNIG is doing with the element that it is receiving. So we have, well, we see that the different digits of the indicator matches, well, the data that we are receiving from the different units, from the different cities. If it's not working out, well, we have to check the error, and then we go on, we proceed. Here we have the validation assistant. You see on the left the list of the different variation that we are taking into account according to the different phases, so we can decide if there is an error, what do we do, if we go on with the process, or if we try to solve the error. And on the right, you see all the messages informing of the state of the art of any modification, any validation. Then we are generating a table with all the elements that are presenting an error. You can consult that table. We have the attributes and the geometry of the data. We find the geometry of the error. We can download it in gvSIG, and we can use the original layer, or we can consult the error layer, and we can study case by case. Another very important thing is the concept of editing and consolidation. So we have, we can exit edition, and this concept in CartoCiudad means that an operator is starting an edition operation in CartoCiudad, and it's being registered in this table in the database, and you can open and close those editing sessions in gvSIG that will be associated to the same session in CartoCiudad. So when you exit the editing session in gvSIG, data have been edited, and you have a register of all the data that have been made and been modified during the editing session. That is to say that you see all these waiting sessions, and then you will decide if you take them into account or if you delete them. There's another concept, the interesting areas when we have a layer and we use that layer as the basis. Well, the waiting time might be too long, so this is why we have to choose which area is an interesting area with a tool. It's a kind of it's a brush a paintbrush that we are using to select, well, the zone, the area that might be interesting, and we are using this factor, this concept as a filter, and we can paint the whole country, and it will filter, well, the areas that are more or less interesting according to our requisites. Other interesting thing of our progress, we can export well, the data. So what we to other format like PostgreSQL or PostGIS. So we will have a PostGIS file that will tell us from where these data have been imported, and we can read the file. We connect the connector, and we will be able to deal with every petition. You'll know exactly how to deal with those petitions independently of the format, the origin format. So as we are dealing with a lot of geometrical calculation, we have a single formula for each data, for each format. And we can also study the overlapping to define the kind of geometry that does exist between two formats. we have designed the different geometrical formula for each database. And this is how we will be able to compose a full sequence for Oracle here. So when we turn to purchase, we will edit those articles. We will decide that those data are being transformed into the purchase format, and well, I'll be able to read them without any problem in that new format too, thanks to this converting tool. We have also cut tools that are also very interesting, very useful. For example, if I want to detect the points at which the stretches are being cut, are being interrupted, when we have intersection, to know exactly where I could create a garden, for example, or something like that. So we have, well, some tools that will tell us how, well, this will evolve. And obviously, these are Oracle specific, so we will have to redo them when we export the database to PostGIS. Now we'll show you a little clip in which I have tested, I have changed the URL of the server to the local host. And at the beginning it was called XA, and I've decided to change the BD CartoCiudad into XA. So please be brief because we are running out of time.
Es lo más breve
vale.
que puedas en lo que te queda de presentación.
Sí, es lo último y aquí iba a enseñar el libro. Aquí acaba de arrancar la aplicación. Ahora va a cargar una serie de tablas. Bueno.
Here we are going to download, well, some tables. Well, you see the original structures, but it is a small quantity of data. Because, well, in my laptop, I was not able to put them all. So you see, it seems that the tables are very important. They are a giant table. They represent the whole territory of Spain. So I select, you see here, the A Coruña city in the north of Spain, northwest of Spain. Here I'm changing the symbol to make sure I see it much better. It's much clearer on the screen. So you see the different layers of CartoCiudad. We have the slot, the sections, the intersections too. Now I can edit portals layer. So it said that I have to open the editing section of CartoCiudad. So we are editing directly in CartoCiudad, and I name that layer. I select a series of points that I want to edit, and I will edit them all at the same time on the slots. Here, well, it is searching the different segments of the slots. And you see that the points are now profiling the slots. Now we will open the session manager. These are the sessions, the pending session to be cancelled or to be consolidated. I will reject them. He said that he needs to access to the CartoCiudad layer. I load them to make sure that the editing session is over. I have selected all the elements that are pending for validation, and then we go back to the original selection. So I have to change it to be able to see it. And now we see that portals have gone back to their initial situation outside the slots and not inside them. Thank you very much for your attention. And at the end, well, if you have any question, we'll be happy to answer.
Gracias, Ana y Juan Lucas. Sí,
Thank you very much, Anna and Juan Lucas. Well, at the end, we will answer all the questions.